Caleb Wright, a 17-year-old black teen, glides his dad's sedan through Oak Ridge Hill's manicured streets, music soft when sirens scream. Officer Dale Kern, white, smirking, rips him from the car, snarling about stolen vehicles. Caleb, pulse racing, stays calm, sliding over a badge. His father, FBI Deputy Director Marcus Wright, glares from the passenger seat. Kern mutters, releases them. Caleb exhales, thinking it's done, but Kern's cold smirk lingers. What grudge will this spark? Before starting, let me know where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like, subscribe, because tomorrow's episode is unmissable. Caleb Wright slumped on the couch in their tidy Atlanta home, the hum of cicadas outside barely drowning out the sting of that day's humiliation. The Oak Ridge Hill stop replayed in his mind. Officer Kern's meaty hand yanking him from the accusation of theft, the smirk when he saw Marcus's FBI badge. Caleb's knuckles tightened, his track-calloused fingers digging into the cushion. At 17, he thought he knew the world's rough edges, but this felt sharper, personal. Across the room, Marcus Wright, still in his crisp suit, poured 2 glasses of water, his face etched with a father's worry and a federal agent's steel. The living room, with its framed family photos and Caleb's track medals gleaming on a shelf, felt like a fortress, but one under siege. Marcus slid a glass across the coffee table, his voice low but firm. "Son, what happened today wasn't just one bad cop. It's a system. You're black. You're young. You're a target. Always will be." Caleb's jaw clenched. He wanted to argue, to say he could outrun trouble like he outran sprinters on the track, but the memory of Kern's sneer, the way the air thickened with threat, choked his defiance. "I stayed calm, Dad. Handed over the badge. It worked, didn't it?" Marcus's eyes, dark and unyielding, met his. "It worked because I was there. Next time you might be alone. You need to understand the game they play." Caleb nodded, but his mind drifted to the state track meet in 3 days. He was the fastest junior in Georgia, clocking 10.5 seconds in the 100-meter dash, college scouts circling like hawks. That was his ticket out, his way to rewrite the script. He didn't want to dwell on cops or systems. He wanted to run. The next morning, Caleb hit the school track at dawn. The red clay dust kicking up under his spikes. Westview High sat in a pocket of Atlanta where black families like his carved out solid lives, but it bordered wealthier, whiter suburbs like Oak Ridge Hills, where yesterday's stop went down. His legs burned through sprints, each stride a release, pushing Kern's face further away. By third period, though, the world caught up. His phone buzzed in his locker, notifications piling up. A video had dropped on X, already at 10,000 views. Caleb tapped play, his stomach twisting. The footage, grainy but sharp enough, showed him stepping out of the sedan, hands raised, Kern looming over him. But the edit was vicious. Clips, spliced to make Caleb look like he lunged at Kern, his voice dubbed with curses he never said. The caption read, entitled, "Teen Threatens Hero Cop in Stolen Car." Comments poured in, each one a blade. Typical thug. Send him to juvie. Oak Ridge doesn't need his kind. Caleb's chest tightened, his breath shallow. He shoved the phone away, but the hallway buzzed. Kids he'd known since middle school shot him side-eyes. Tasha, his lab partner, leaned over during chemistry, whispering, "That video's BS, right?" Caleb forced a nod, but doubt flickered in her eyes. By lunch, the school's vibe had shifted. Coach Heller, a wiry white guy who'd always pushed Caleb to be a leader, called him into the athletic office. The room smelled of sweat and old coffee, trophies lining the walls. Heller leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Caleb, this video's a problem. Parents are calling saying you're a distraction. I gotta bench you for the meet." Caleb's heart plummeted. "Coach, that video's fake. You know me. I've been breaking records all season." Heller sighed, rubbing his temples. "Doesn't matter what I know, it's optics. Lay low, let it blow over." Caleb wanted to scream, to flip the desk, but he saw Marcus's face in his mind, urging calm. He walked out, fists balled, the track meet slipping through his fingers like sand. That afternoon, he hit the neighborhood gym, pounding a punching bag until his knuckles bled. He wasn't letting Kern steal his shot. The meet was his stage, and he'd show them all, scouts, haters, everyone. He trained harder, waking at 4 to run hills, eating clean, visualizing the finish line. His times dropped even lower, 10.4 seconds in practice. Marcus noticed, clapping his shoulder one night. "That's my boy. Keep fighting." Caleb grinned, feeling the fire reignite. The day of the regional meet, Caleb arrived at the stadium, a sprawling complex in downtown Atlanta, the air thick with heat and anticipation. Scouts from Georgia Tech and Florida State dotted the stands, clipboards ready. Caleb's name wasn't on the roster, but he'd begged Heller for a walk-on spot, promising to stay drama-free. Heller relented, muttering about one last chance. Caleb stretched, his neon green spikes glinting under the sun. The crowd roared as the 100-meter dash lined up. He crouched, heart hammering, the world narrowing to the lane ahead. The gun cracked, and he exploded, legs a blur, wind rushing. Past. He crossed the line first, clocking 10.3 seconds, a personal best. The stands erupted, his name on the announcer's lips. Scouts scribbled furiously. Tasha and his teammates mobbed him, chanting, "Right, right." For the first time since the stop, Caleb felt untouchable, like he'd outrun the hate. He pictured Kern watching, fuming, and it felt good. That night, buzzing from victory, Caleb scrolled X on his phone, expecting clips of his race. Instead, a new post stopped him cold. Someone had doxed him, his home address plastered across a thread with thousands of shares. The comments were a sewer of slurs, threats, promises to teach him a lesson. One read, "Oak Ridge hero Kern deserves a medal for dealing with this punk." Caleb's high crashed. He showed Marcus, who was already on the phone with the FBI's cyber unit. "This is retaliation," Marcus said, voice tight. "Kern's behind it." Caleb stared at the screen, the joy of his win souring. The threats weren't just words, they were a promise. His family's address, their safe haven, was now a target. He thought of the meet, the scouts, his future. Had he really won, or had he just painted a bigger bullseye on his back? The room felt smaller, the walls closing in. Marcus hung up, his face grim. "We're getting security tomorrow. Stay off the streets." Caleb nodded, but his mind raced. Kern wasn't just a cop with a grudge. He was a spark, and the fire was spreading. The next morning, Caleb woke to a text from Tasha. "Check the news." He flipped on the TV, and there was Kern, standing at a podium in Oak Ridge Hills, a crowd of supporters behind him. The chyron read, "Local officer praised for restraint in viral stop." Kern, in a pressed uniform, spoke smoothly. "I did my job, protected our community. That video's a lie, but I forgive the kid. He's young, misled." The crowd clapped, signs waving, "Support our cops." Caleb's stomach churned. Kern wasn't backing down. He was doubling down, playing the martyr. A reporter asked about the doxing, and Kern's eyes glinted. "I'd never condone that, but people are angry. They want safety." Caleb shut off the TV, his pulse pounding. His win at the meet, his moment of triumph, was being buried under a wave of lies. The threats on X kept coming, each one uglier than the last. One stuck with him. "Run all you want, boy. We know where you live." Caleb looked out the window. The quiet street, now a minefield. Marcus was right. This was a system, and it was closing in. Kern had turned his victory into a trap, and the real fight was just beginning. Caleb Wright woke to the stench of smoke, his bedroom window glowing orange in the Atlanta night. He bolted upright, heart slamming, as his phone buzzed with a neighbor's text. "Fire outside!" Barefoot, he sprinted to the living room, where Marcus, his FBI agent dad, was already at the door, gun drawn. Outside, their mailbox blazed, a jagged slur spray-painted across it in white. "Leave or burn." Caleb's stomach lurched. The doxing from that viral video, the one Kern twisted to paint him as a thug, had followed him home. Just yesterday, his track win had felt like a shield, a middle finger to the hate. Now, as flames licked the night, that shield was ash. Marcus shoved Caleb back, barking, "Stay inside!" Fire trucks wailed in the distance, too slow. Caleb, peered through the blinds, his track medals glinting mockingly on the shelf. How had a routine traffic stop spiraled into this? The Oak Ridge Hills cop Dale Kern hadn't just walked away after Marcus's badge shut him down. He'd ignited a war, and Caleb's family was the battlefield. By morning, the mailbox was a charred husk, and Marcus was on the phone with a security firm, his voice clipped. Caleb, still in sweats, scrolled X on his phone, the doxing post now at 50,000 shares. Threats piled up. "We'll torch your whole house next. Oak Ridge doesn't want you." He slammed the phone down, his pulse a drumbeat. Marcus hung up, face grim. "We're installing cameras, alarms, the works. This ends now." Caleb nodded, but doubt gnawed him. Kern wasn't some lone racist cop. He had pull, connections. The news had called him a hero after all. Caleb's win at the regional meet, his 10.3-second sprint, was supposed to be his ticket to college, to a future. But Kern's shadow kept growing, blotting out the light. Marcus drove Caleb to the police station to file a complaint, the Atlanta skyline gleaming under a muggy sky. The precinct buzzed with officers, their eyes sliding over Caleb like he was a ghost. At the front desk, Marcus demanded to see the chief, his FBI badge gleaming. Chief Harlan Kern, a burly white man with a buzz cut and a family resemblance to... Officer Dale sauntered out, his smile thin. "Deputy Director Wright, what's this about?" Marcus laid it out. The mailbox fire, the slur, the doxing tied to Dale's video. Harlan leaned back, arms crossed. "Sounds like kids pulling pranks. No evidence it's my nephew." Caleb's fists clenched. Nephew. The connection hit like a slap. Marcus pressed, voice icy. "Chief, we've got screenshots, timestamps. Investigate or I'll escalate this to the DOJ." Harlan's eyes narrowed, but he nodded. "We'll look into it." Caleb wanted to believe it, but Harlan's smirk mirrored Dale's from the traffic stop. As they left, Caleb whispered, "He's covering for him, isn't he?" Marcus didn't answer, but his grip on the steering wheel tightened. Back home, Caleb couldn't sit still. The security team arrived, wiring cameras and bolting new locks, but it felt like bandaging a gunshot wound. He opened his laptop, fingers trembling, and posted about the fire on X. "This is what happens when a black kid dares to exist in Oak Ridge Hills," he typed, attaching a photo of the charred mailbox. He hesitated, then hit send. Within hours, the post exploded, 10,000 likes, thousands of shares. Supporters flooded his mentions. "Keep fighting, Caleb. This is systemic." A local Black Lives Matter chapter reached out, offering legal help. Tasha, his lab partner, texted, "You're a legend for this." Caleb's chest swelled. Maybe he could turn the tide, expose Kern for the snake he was. By evening, his post hit national blogs, and a lawyer named Aisha Coleman, a black activist with a rep for taking down corrupt cops, called. "Caleb, I'm in. Let's sue Kern for defamation. That video's a lie, and we'll prove it." Caleb grinned, hope flickering. This was his shot to fight back, to reclaim his name. Aisha moved fast, filing the lawsuit in federal court. She dug up bodycam footage from the stop, unedited, showing Caleb's calm compliance, Kern's slurs barely muted. The judge, a no-nonsense black woman, tossed Kern's defamation case in a week, ruling it baseless. Caleb sat in the courtroom, Aisha's hand on his shoulder as the gavel fell. Kern wasn't there, but his lawyer looked pale, scrambling to object. The gallery, packed with Caleb's supporters, erupted in cheers. Tasha hugged him outside, whispering, "You did it." Marcus, usually stoic, cracked a rare smile. "Proud of you, son." Caleb walked out into the Atlanta sun, feeling 10 feet tall. The video was dead, Kern's lies exposed. Scouts from the track meet were emailing, again mentioning scholarships. For the first time in weeks, Caleb slept without nightmares, the weightlifting. He pictured Kern humiliated, fading into irrelevance. Maybe the system wasn't unbreakable. Maybe he'd won. That night, Caleb woke to sirens, not the distant wail of the city, but close, screaming in his driveway. He stumbled to the window, heart in his throat. The garage was an inferno, flames devouring Marcus's new SUV, the one they'd bought to replace the sedan from the stop. Black smoke choked the air, and neighbors gawked from their lawns. Marcus pulled Caleb back, shouting for the fire department. Caleb's eyes burned, not from smoke, but rage. This wasn't random. The security cameras, brand new, caught nothing. Someone had cut the wires. Firefighters doused the blaze, but the garage was gutted, the SUV a skeleton. At dawn, Chief Harlan showed up, notepad in hand, his face a mask of fake concern. Probably a gas leak. Accidents happen. Caleb's voice shook. A gas leak? Is that what the cameras cut? Harlan shrugged. No proof of foul play. Marcus stepped forward, eyes blazing. We'll find proof, Chief. As Harlan left, Caleb caught a glimpse of a familiar cruiser parked down the street. Dale Kern sat inside, watching, his lips curled in that same cold smirk from the traffic stop. Caleb's victory in court, his moment of triumph, crumbled. Kern wasn't done. He was escalating, hitting harder, and now their home was a war zone. What would he burn next? Drop a comment with the number 1 if you're raging at Kern's dirty tactics, and hit that like button to stand with Caleb's fight. Subscribe for the next chapter, because this story's heating up. If you think justice should hit back twice as hard, let me know below. What's Kern planning now that he's turned Caleb's win into ashes? Caleb Wright stood in the ruins of their garage, the acrid stench of melted rubber and charred wood clogging his throat. The firebombing had gutted everything. Marcus's SUV, Caleb's bike, even his old track trophies stored in boxes. Atlanta's morning sun did nothing to warm the chill in his bones. He kicked a twisted hubcap, the image of Dale Kern's smirk in that cruiser burning brighter than the flames had. Part of him wanted to hunt Kern down, make him pay, but Marcus's voice echoed in his head. Stay smart, son, we'll get him the right way. Caleb wasn't so sure anymore. The lawsuit victory, Aisha's slam dunk in court, felt like a cruel joke now. Kern wasn't retreating. He was doubling down, and their home was a casualty. Marcus, already on the phone with the FBI's arson unit, gestured for Caleb to come inside. We're not letting this break us, he said, his eyes fierce. Caleb nodded, but the weight of Kern's reach pressed harder. This wasn't just one cop. It was a machine, and Caleb was caught in its gears. By noon, their lawyer, Aisha Coleman, arrived, her tablet loaded with screenshots. She'd found a local X account, Oak Ridge Truth, posting about the fire before the fire department was even called. Someone knew, Aisha said, her voice sharp, and I'm betting it's Kern. She pitched a plan. Go public, national media, expose Kern's history. Marcus agreed, and Aisha reached out to a reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a veteran named Lena Brooks, with a knack for digging up dirt. Lena met them at a downtown coffee shop, her recorder humming as Caleb recounted the traffic stop, the doxing, the fire. Marcus laid out Kern's rap sheet, 6 complaints of excessive force, all buried. Lena's eyes lit up. This is big, give me 48 hours. Caleb left the meeting buzzing, a spark of hope reigniting. If the world saw Kern for what he was, maybe the threats would stop. Maybe he could get back to running, to his future. 2 days later, Lena's article dropped, a front-page bombshell. Officers racist past haunts black teens family. It detailed Kern's stops targeting black drivers, his uncle Chief Harlan's cover-ups, and the firebombing linked to Oak Ridge Truth's posts. X blew up, hashtags like Justice for Caleb trending nationwide. Protesters marched outside the Oak Ridge Hills precinct, chanting Caleb's name. By evening, the mayor held a press conference, his tie crooked, sweat beading. Officer Dale Kern is suspended pending investigation. We stand against hate. Caleb watched on TV, fists unclenching. Tasha texted, "You're a hero." His teammates flooded their group chat with fist bump emojis. Marcus clapped his shoulder. This is what fighting looks like, son. The FBI assigned a protective detail. 2 agents parked outside their house, radios crackling. Caleb exhaled, the knot in his chest loosening. Kern was down, maybe out. He could focus on track again on the state meet in a week. Scouts were still watching and he was ready to fly. Caleb threw himself into training, hitting the Westview. High track at dawn, his neon green spikes carving the red clay. Coach Heller, chastened by the article, put him back on the roster, muttering about misjudgments. Caleb didn't care. He was running for himself now. He visualized the state meet, the stadium packed, scouts from Auburn and USC in the stands. His times were razor-sharp 10.2 seconds in practice, a hair from a state record. The day of the meet, Atlanta's air was thick, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, but Caleb felt electric. The stadium roared, 10,000 strong as he lined up for the 100-meter dash. He wore his lucky wristband, a gift from Tasha, and pictured Kern's face fading with every stride. The gun cracked and he surged, legs pumping, the finish. Line a blur. He crossed first, the clock flashing 10.1 seconds, a new Georgia junior record. The crowd exploded. Teammates mobbing him, scouts scribbling. A TV crew shoved a mic in his face. "Caleb Wright, you're unstoppable. What's next?" He grinned, sweat stinging his eyes. Just getting started. For one perfect moment, he was king, untouchable, his dreams within reach. But something felt off mid-race, a heaviness in his limbs, like wading through mud. By the time he reached the locker room, his vision swam, and he collapsed, his water bottle rolling across the tiles. Paramedics rushed in, their voices distant as he blacked out. He woke in a hospital bed, Marcus and Aisha at his side, the sterile room cold against his skin. A doctor, her face tight, explained, traces of a sedative in his system, not enough to kill, but enough to slow him. Caleb's heart sank. His water bottle. Someone had tampered with it. The news hit X before he left the hospital. Track stars collapse, sparks, drug rumors. Whispers spread. Classmates, even teammates, side-eyed him. "Maybe he's doping," one kid muttered in the hall. Caleb's phone buzzed with scout emails, polite but firm. "We're pausing consideration. Auburn, USC, all gone." His record-breaking run, his moment of glory, was now a stain. Marcus raged, demanding the meet's security footage, but the cameras malfunctioned that day. Aisha filed a complaint, and tests confirmed the sedative wasn't recreational. No, charges stuck. Caleb sat in his hospital room staring at the IV in his arm, the weight of Kern's grudge crushing him. This wasn't random. Kern's suspension hadn't stopped him. It had made him bolder. As Caleb was discharged, a nurse wheeled him to the exit, where a crowd of reporters waited. But one figure stood out, leaning against a cruiser in the parking lot. Dale Kern, off-duty in civilian clothes, his smirk sharper than ever. "Get well soon, kid," he called, voice dripping with mockery. Caleb froze, his blood boiling. Marcus pulled him toward their car, whispering, "He's baiting you. Don't bite." But Caleb's eyes locked on Kern's, and he knew this was no accident. Kern had poisoned his water, his future, and he was gloating. The hospital doors slid shut behind them, but the real trap was closing in. Caleb barely spoke on the drive home, the Atlanta skyline blurring past. Marcus tried to rally him. "We'll find proof, Caleb. He can't hide forever." But Caleb's mind churned. The article, the suspension, the protests. They'd hurt Kern, sure, but not enough. He'd slithered out, struck harder, and now Caleb's dreams were collateral damage. His scholarship hopes, his track career, his name, all tainted by a lie no one could disprove. The protective detail followed them, 2 black SUVs trailing, but Caleb felt exposed, like Kern's eyes were everywhere. Their house loomed ahead, new cameras glinting, but it wasn't a fortress anymore. It was a target. Caleb gripped his lucky wristband, Tasha's gift, now a reminder of what he'd lost. Kern had taken his moment, his shot at the stars, and left him with nothing but rage. How much more could he take before he broke? Caleb Wright sat in his bedroom, the hospital's antiseptic smell still clinging to his skin, his track dreams now a fading echo. The sedative in his water bottle at the state meet had cost him everything: scholarships, his reputation, his shot at college. Kern's taunt in the hospital parking lot, that smug "get well soon" replayed like a bad song. Caleb's hands shook as he scrolled X, the drug rumors still trending. Wright's a doper, always was. His neon green spikes sat in the corner, mocking him. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, was downstairs, voice low but urgent on a call. Caleb caught snippets. Kern, evidence tampering, dig deeper. His father was fighting, but Caleb felt like he was drowning. The Atlanta air. Outside was thick 85 degrees Fahrenheit, but the chill inside their house came from fear. Kern wasn't just a rogue cop anymore. He was a ghost, slipping through every net, and Caleb was his obsession. Marcus stormed upstairs, his suit rumpled, eyes burning with purpose. "I've got a lead," he said, sitting on Caleb's bed. "Kern's been sloppy before. My team's pulling records, stops, arrests, complaints. If he's tampered with evidence, we'll nail him." Caleb nodded, but his heart wasn't in it. The firebombing, the doxing, the poisoned water, it was too much. He wanted to fight, not wait for files. "Dad, what if they protect him again? His uncle's the chief." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we go higher. DOJ, FBI, whoever. They can't bury this forever." Caleb wanted to believe it, but Kern's smirk loomed larger than any badge. Still, Marcus's fire sparked something. Caleb opened his laptop, the X-post about the firebombing still racking up shares. He typed a new one. Kern tried to break. "Me, but I'm still standing. Who's with me?" He hit send, his pulse racing. If the system wouldn't move, he'd make it. The post went viral, 50,000 likes by morning, hashtags like "One Stand with Caleb" spiking. Tasha, his lab partner, shared it with a fist emoji. Classmates who'd shunned him started texting apologies. At Westview High, kids wore shirts with Caleb's track number, 7, stenciled in green. His teammate Jamal cornered him in the hall. "Man, you're starting something big. Let's do more." Caleb hesitated, then nodded. He met Jamal and Tasha after school, brainstorming over wings at a local diner, the air thick with grease and hope. They planned a protest march against police bias, set for Saturday in downtown Atlanta. Caleb designed flyers on his phone, bold text screaming, "No more Kerns." Aisha, their lawyer, signed on, promising legal observers. By Friday, the march had 10,000 RSVPs on X, local news buzzing. Caleb felt alive, like he was running again, but this time toward justice. The mayor even tweeted support, vowing, "Reform now." Caleb grinned at Marcus over dinner, his first real smile in weeks. "We're changing things, Dad." Marcus raised a glass of water. "That's my boy." Saturday dawned hot, 90 degrees, the Atlanta streets pulsing with marchers. Caleb led the pack, megaphone in hand, his voice steady. "We're here because black kids shouldn't fear cops. We're here for truth." The crowd, thousands strong, roared, signs bobbing, "End systemic racism, justice for Caleb." Tasha and Jamal flanked him, chanting, "No justice, no peace." News drones hovered, live streams hitting millions. Aisha walked nearby, her eyes scanning for trouble. Halfway through, the mayor joined, shaking Caleb's hand for the cameras. "Young man, you're an inspiration," he said. Caleb's chest swelled. The march ended at City Hall, where he spoke to a sea of faces. "Kern thought he could silence me, but we're louder." Cheers drowned him out, and X lit up with clips, his speech trending globally. That night, Caleb crashed on the couch, exhausted but electric. The mayor's promise, the crowd's energy, it felt like a win, a real one. Kern was suspended, his uncle on notice. Maybe the system was cracking, but Monday brought a new shadow. Chief Harlan Kern, Dale's uncle, held a press conference, his face grim but calculated. "Due to recent unrest, we're enforcing a curfew for minors in black neighborhoods, effective immediately. Safety first." Caleb watched on TV, his stomach twisting. The curfew hit areas like Westview, where black families lived, but spared Oak Ridge Hills, all white and wealthy. X erupted, calling it racial profiling, but Harlan doubled down, citing crime spikes. Caleb's march, his triumph, was being weaponized. That evening, he stayed late at school helping Tasha with a science project, losing track of time. At 8 o'clock, walking home, blue lights flashed. 2 cops, white and stone-faced, blocked his path. "Pass curfew, kid, hands up." Caleb froze, heart hammering. "I'm just going home, it's 2 blocks. They didn't listen, cuffs snapping on his wrists, cold metal biting his skin. At the precinct, they shoved him into a holding cell, the air rank with sweat. One cop, his badge reading Miller, leaned in. "Heard your trouble, right? Should have stayed quiet." Then he swung, a fist cracking Caleb's jaw. Pain exploded, blood pooling in his mouth. They left him there, bruised, for hours. Marcus arrived at midnight, his FBI badge useless against the precinct's stone wall. He bailed Caleb out, his face a mask of fury and guilt. "I should have driven you," he muttered, helping Caleb into the car. Caleb's jaw throbbed, but the real pain was deeper. The march, the mayor's words, the hope it was all a mirage. By morning, a new video hit X, grainy but damning, Caleb in cuffs, edited to look like he swung at Miller first. The caption read, "Violent teen attacks officers." Comments piled up, venomous. "Lock him up." Kern was right about him. Supporters from the march turned silent, some unfollowing. The mayor distanced himself, tweeting about law and order. Caleb stared at the screen, his protest's momentum gutted. Harlan's curfew, the arrest, the video, it was a coordinated hit. Kern's shadow all over it. His bruises ached, but his spirit hurt worse. He'd rallied a city only to be branded a criminal. How much deeper could this trap go? Comment number 1 if you're outraged at Harlan's curfew targeting black kids, and smash that like button. Tap back Caleb's fight. Subscribe for the next chapter because this story's far from over. If you think Caleb should keep exposing these crooks, let me know below. What's Harlan's next move to bury Caleb's truth? Caleb Wright's jaw throbbed, the bruise from Officer Miller's fist a dull pulse under his skin. He sat in his Atlanta bedroom, the walls closing in, the doctored video of his arrest looping on X, branding him a violent thug. His protest march, once a beacon, was now a punchline, the mayor's promises dust. Chief Harlan's curfew had caged him, and Dale Kern, suspended but untouchable, was pulling strings. Caleb's phone buzzed. Tasha's text, "You okay?" He didn't reply. He couldn't. The world saw a criminal, not a 17-year-old track star fighting for his life. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, was downstairs, voice sharp on a call, chasing Kern's trail. But Caleb was done waiting. His neon green spikes sat untouched, his dreams of college track buried under lies. He opened his laptop, fingers itching. If the system wouldn't break Kern, he would. At school, Caleb pulled Jamal, his tech-savvy teammate, aside in the computer lab, the hum of old PCs masking their whispers. "I need to hit Kern where it hurts," Caleb said, eyes fierce. Jamal, who'd hacked the school's grading system for kicks, grinned. "You want dirt, I'm in." They met after hours at Jamal's garage, a cluttered cave of monitors and energy drinks. Jamal cracked into the Oak Ridge Hills police server, his fingers flying, while Caleb kept watch, heart pounding. Within hours, they found gold, emails between Kern and Harlan, detailing planted evidence in Caleb's arrest, plus a dozen other black teens framed over years. One line chilled Caleb. "Wright's kid is trouble. End him quietly." Caleb's blood boiled. This was proof. Undeniable. Jamal burned the files to a USB, but Caleb had a bigger play. "We leak this," he said, "and let the world see." They reached out to a blogger, Truth Seeker 404, known for exposing Atlanta's underbelly. Caleb sent the files anonymously, his pulse racing as he typed, "Kern's a fraud, Harlan's worse," and spread this. By morning, Truth Seeker's post hit X, a bombshell titled "Oak Ridge Cops Frame Black Teens." The emails were front and center, Kern's name in bold. X exploded, 100,000 shares in hours. Hashtags like "Chives expose Kern" trending globally. News channels picked it up, CNN running a segment with Aisha, Caleb's lawyer, tearing into the precinct. Protesters swarmed Oak Ridge Hills again, this time angrier, signs reading "Fire Harlan." Caleb watched from home, his bruised jaw aching less. His post about the march had started this, but this leak was a knockout. Supporters flooded his mentions, donations pouring in to rebuild their torched garage. Tasha texted, "You're a beast." Marcus, usually cautious, nodded approval. "Smart move, son. They can't ignore this." By evening, the mayor caved, announcing Harlan's resignation on live TV, his face ashen. "We're cleaning house," he stammered, dodging questions about Kern. Caleb fist-bumped Jamal over FaceTime, the garage fund hitting $20,000. His name was clear again, the arrest video debunked. He slept soundly, dreaming of the track of outrunning Kern's shadow. The next morning, Aisha called, voice bright. "Caleb, you're a hero. Colleges are emailing. They want you back." He grinned, picturing his spikes tearing up the clay, scouts clapping. Kern was done, Harlan gone. The system had bent just a little. He headed to the Westview High Track. Meet, a smaller invitational to keep his edge. The stands were half full, but Tasha and Jamal cheered, their voices carrying. Caleb lined up, the gun cracked, and he flew, clocking 10.2 seconds, a solid win. He felt alive, unstoppable, like the fight was finally his. But as he cooled down, a van screeched into the lot, tires smoking. 4 men, masked and armed, leapt out, their boots heavy on the asphalt. The crowd scattered, screams piercing the air. Caleb froze, his wristband, Tasha's gift, damp with sweat. "That's him!" one shouted, pointing. Before he could run, they grabbed him, a hood, slamming over his head, the world going black. His spikes scraped the ground as they dragged him into the van, doors slamming. The engine roared, and Caleb's heart hammered, his muffled shouts lost in the fabric. They drove for what felt like hours, his wrists zip-tied, pain shooting through, his bruised jaw. The van stopped, and they hauled him into a damp, echoing space, a warehouse judging by the metallic clangs. The hood came off and Caleb blinked, eyes adjusting to dim fluorescent light. Crates loomed, marked with militia logos, rifles stacked nearby. A man stepped forward, unmasked, his face familiar. Dale Kern, no longer in uniform, his smirk sharper than ever. "Thought you'd bury me, kid," he spat. "Welcome to my new crew." Caleb's stomach dropped. Kern wasn't just a fired cop. He'd joined a militia, a network of racists with guns and grudges. The men around him, 6 total, wore patches with a snarling wolf, their eyes cold. Kern paced, a pistol in hand. "Your little hack cost me my badge, my uncle's job, but I'm bigger now. You're done." Caleb's mind raced, searching for an out. The guards were armed, but one, a lanky guy with a limp, seemed distracted, fiddling with a radio. Caleb caught his eye, faking a cough, then a stumble. "Water," he gasped, slumping. The guard hesitated, then stepped closer, loosening the zip ties to hand him a bottle. Caleb seized the moment, slamming his elbow into the guard's nose. Blood spraying. He bolted, dodging crates, gunfire cracking behind him. A side door loomed, rusted but unlocked. He burst through, sprinting into a wooded lot, the Georgia night thick with humidity. Bullets zipped past, splintering trees, but Caleb's track legs carried him, weaving through pines until the warehouse faded. He collapsed in a ditch, lungs burning, the zip ties still dangling from one wrist. His phone was gone, taken by the militia, but he was alive. He stumbled to a gas station 90 minutes later, borrowing a clerk's phone to call Marcus. His dad arrived, FBI agents in tow, their SUV screeching into the lot. Caleb recounted everything, Kern's words ringing. "I'm bigger now." Marcus's face darkened. "That militia's no joke. We'll find them." But as they drove home, Caleb saw a new ex-post on Marcus's phone from an account called Wolfpack Rising. It showed his face, a bounty listed, "Caleb Wright, $10,000, dead or alive." The comments were a flood of hate, militia members vowing to hunt him. Caleb's escape, his desperate counter, hadn't stopped Kern. It had unleashed a beast. His leak had cleared his name, but at a cost. The warehouse was just the start. Now he was prey, and Kern's army was closing in. Caleb Wright crouched in the gas station parking lot, his breath ragged, the Georgia night heavy with the scent of pine and fear. His escape from Kern's militia warehouse, a blur of gunfire and sprinting, had left him shaken, but alive. The clerk's phone, still warm in his hand, buzzed as Marcus's SUV screeched up, FBI agents spilling out. Caleb's wrists, raw from zip ties, ached as he climbed in, Marcus's eyes scanning him for wounds. "You're okay," his dad said, a voice tight, but Caleb wasn't. Kern's words echoed, "I'm bigger now." The militia's bounty, $10,000 for his head, was plastered across X, the Wolfpack Rising account racking up shares. Caleb's leak had exposed Kern's corruption, cleared his name, but it had also painted a target on his back. Atlanta's skyline loomed as they sped home, the protective details SUVs trailing. But Caleb felt exposed. Kern wasn't just a cop anymore. He was a warlord, and Caleb was his prey. By dawn, Marcus had a plan. "We're moving," he announced. his FBI badge gleaming as he briefed the family in their fire-scarred living room. Gated community, north side, FBI's footing the bill. Kern's militia won't touch us there. Caleb nodded, but his stomach twisted. Running felt like surrender. Their Atlanta home, with its creaky floors and track metal shelf, was his anchor. The firebombing had gutted the garage, and now Kern's goons were chasing them out entirely. Tasha texted, "You safe?" Caleb replied, "For now." But the militia's ex-post haunted him, comments vowing to find the kid. Marcus wasn't done. He called in favors getting the FBI's domestic terrorism unit to flag Kern's militia, the Wolfpack, as a hate group. "They're on the radar now," Marcus said, his voice steel. "One slip, they're done." Caleb clung to that. Picturing Kern cuffed, his smirk gone. He packed his neon green spikes, refusing to let track die. He'd fight, not hide. The new house, in a gated enclave called Willow Crest, was a fortress. High walls, armed guards, cameras on every corner. Caleb's room overlooked a manicured lawn, a far cry from Westview's grit. It felt wrong, like a cage dressed up as safety. He trained in secret, running laps in the community's private park at dawn, his times still sharp, 10.2 seconds on a stopwatch. Marcus enrolled him in a virtual school to dodge the curfew, but Caleb missed. Tasha, Jamal, the team. Aisha, their lawyer, visited, her tablet glowing with updates. "The FBI's watching the Wolfpack. You're clear to compete again, but low-key." Caleb jumped at it, entering a national youth meet in Charlotte, 200 miles away, under an alias Caleb Jones. "No one'll know it's me," he told Marcus, who hesitated but agreed. "Stay sharp, son, eyes open." Caleb felt a spark. Track was his fight, his way to reclaim his name. The Charlotte meet was electric. A sprawling stadium packed with 5,000 fans, scouts from Duke and Texas A&M in the stands. Caleb, as Jones, wore plain black spikes, his wristband Tasha's gift, his only tell. The air was 80 degrees, humid, but his focus was razor-sharp. He lined up for the 100-meter dash, heart steady, visualizing the finish. The gun cracked and he exploded, legs churning, crossing first at 10.1 seconds, tying his state record. The crowd roared, scouts scribbling, unaware of his real name. A meet official handed him a medal, whispering, "Kid, you're NCAA material." Caleb grinned, his chest light for the first time in weeks. He texted Tasha a photo of the medal, captioned, "Back." College dreams flickered again, bright and close. He was winning, not just surviving. Kern's bounty. The warehouse felt distant, like a bad dream he'd outrun. But dreams don't last. 3 nights later, Caleb woke to shattering glass, the Willow Crest house shaking. He bolted upright, pulse hammering, as Marcus shouted, "Downstairs now!" Caleb stumbled to the living room, where security lights blazed, revealing chaos. Windows smashed, furniture slashed. A noose dangling from the chandelier, its rope coarse and taunting. The Wolfpack had struck, their wolf logo spray-painted on the walls. Guards swept the grounds, but the attackers were gone, ghosts in the night. Caleb's stomach churned. The militia had hacked the FBI database, found their new address, breached. A gated fortress. Marcus, gun drawn, checked the cameras, his face ashen. "They looped the feed," he muttered. "Inside job." The guards found a note. "Run all you want, right?" Caleb's medal from Charlotte, tucked in his bag, felt heavy now, a reminder of what he couldn't escape. By morning, the story broke, not on CNN, but a fringe news site tied to the militia. FBI agent's son shoots innocent neighbor. The headline screamed, claiming Marcus fired on a concerned citizen during the raid. The article twisted the noose into vandalism, the break-in into a misunderstanding. X ate it up, the Wolfpack Rising account pushing the lie, racking up 100,000 shares. Comments flooded, "Wright's family is dangerous. Deport them." A mob formed outside Willow Crest, white men in trucks waving wolf flags, chanting slurs. The FBI detail doubled, but neighbors turned cold, petitioning to evict the Wrights. Caleb's virtual school dropped him, citing safety. "Concerns," Marcus raged, calling the article a smear. But the damage was done. Kern, from the shadows, had flipped the raid into a weapon, isolating them further. Caleb stared at the noose, cut down but still swaying in his mind. His Charlotte Wynne, his alias. His hope. It was all a trap, and Kern had sprung it. Comment. Number 1 if you're furious at the militia's gutless raid, and smash that like button to stand with Caleb's defiance. Subscribe for the next chapter, because this fight's getting uglier. If you think Caleb should strike back harder, let me know below. How far will Kern's lies push this family before they break? Caleb Wright stood in the trashed living room of their Willowcrest home, the noose's shadow lingering in his mind, though the rope itself was bagged as evidence. The militia's raid had left their gated Atlanta fortress in ruins, smashed. Windows, slashed couches, wolf logos defacing every wall. The Fringe news article claiming Marcus shot an innocent neighbor had ignited a mob outside, their slurs echoing through the night. Caleb's Charlotte track win, his alias-fueled comeback, felt like a cruel mirage now. Kern's Wolfpack wasn't just hunting him, they were dismantling his life, piece by piece. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, paced, phone glued to his ear, demanding answers from the domestic terrorism unit. "Find the leak," he barked. Caleb's wristband, Tasha's gift, was sweat-soaked, a reminder of the track he couldn't run. At 17, he'd exposed a corrupt cop, rallied a city, but Kern's militia had turned his fight into a curse. Aisha Coleman, their lawyer, arrived by noon, her heels clicking on the shattered glass. She clutched a legal pad, her face grim, but resolute. "That article's libel," she said, tossing a printout on the coffee table. "We're suing the outlet Wolf News for defamation. They've got no proof Marcus shot anyone." Caleb's heart lifted slightly. Aisha's last lawsuit had crushed Kern's lies, and maybe this one could stop the mob. She filed the case, that day targeting Wolf News' shady funding, linked to militia donors. By evening, a judge fast-tracked the suit, and Wolf News retracted the story, posting a grudging apology on X. Claims about Wright shooting unverified. The mob outside thinned, their trucks peeling away. Caleb exhaled, the pressure easing. Tasha texted, "You're unstoppable!" Marcus clapped his shoulder. "Aisha's a shark. We're back in this." Caleb nodded, but Kern's smirk loomed. In his memory, a warning this wasn't over. The next morning, a new spark came. Senator Clara Evans, a Georgia progressive with a national profile, tweeted about Caleb. "This young man's courage exposes systemic rot. I'm offering him a full scholarship to any state university." Caleb stared at the screen, jaw dropping. Evans was a legend, her speeches viral for calling out racism. The scholarship was a lifeline, track, college, his future, all back on the table. X lit up, supporters chanting, "Chug Caleb rising," his Charlotte Wynne trending again. Aisha arranged a rally in downtown Atlanta, where Evans wanted Caleb to speak. "This is your moment," Aisha said, her eyes bright. "Show them who you are." Caleb hesitated. The militia's bounty, $10,000 for his head, still active, but Marcus nodded. "We've got security, you've earned this." Caleb agreed, picturing Kern watching, fuming. He'd speak, not hide. The rally, set for Saturday, was massive, 20,000 packed into Centennial Park, the Atlanta skyline glinting under a 90-degree sun. Caleb stood backstage, his neon green wristband tight as Evans introduced him. "Caleb Wright faced hate and didn't break. He's our future." The crowd roared, signs waving. "Stand with Caleb." He took the mic, heart pounding, his voice steady. "I'm just a kid who loves to run, but Kern tried to stop me because I'm black. We're here to say no more." Cheers drowned him. Out, live streams hitting millions. Tasha and Jamal in the front row fist-bumped him from afar. Evans hugged him after, whispering, "You're changing the game." Caleb felt invincible, the scholarship his, the crowd his army. For one shining moment, he'd turned Kern's hate into fuel, his voice louder than any bounty. But as he spoke, his eyes caught a flicker in the crowd, a man in a wolf-patch jacket, slipping through the masses. Caleb's gut twisted. He scanned again, spotting a duffel bag unattended near the stage. His track instincts kicked in, danger screaming. He cut his speech short, shouting, "Everyone, move back now!" Security rushed in, confused, as Caleb pointed to the bag. The crowd parted, panic rippling. A bomb squad swept in, their suits. clanking, and confirmed it. A pressure cooker explosive rigged to blow. Caleb's quick call saved thousands, the squad disarming it with seconds to spare. But the blast came anyway. Not from the bag, but a secondary device hidden in a trash can triggered remotely. The explosion rocked the park, shrapnel tearing through the stage, flames licking the sky. 5 were injured, none killed, but the venue was a wreck, banners burning, screams echoing. Caleb, shielded by security, stumbled through smoke, his ears ringing, the crowd's cheers now wails. By evening, the news twisted like a knife. Wolf News, unbowed by the lawsuit, ran a new headline: Wright linked to rally bombing. They claimed Caleb planted the device, citing anonymous militia sources. X swallowed it whole, the Wolfpack Rising account pushing doctored footage of Caleb near the bag, edited to look suspicious. Comments flooded. Terrorist. Lock him. Up. Senator Evans, under pressure, tweeted a retraction, pausing scholarship pending investigation. Caleb's heart sank, the rally's triumph ashes in his mouth. Aisha raged, filing motions to block the story, but the damage was done. Supporters turned silent, Tasha's texts slowing. The FBI detail tightened, but Caleb felt exposed. A pariah. Again. Marcus pulled him close, voice low. This is Kern's play, he's in the militia orchestrating it. Caleb nodded, rage simmering. He'd saved lives only to be framed as a monster. That night, Caleb scrolled X, the bombing footage looping, his face plastered as a villain. Kern's smirk materialized, this time on a grainy live stream from Wolfpack Rising, where he stood unmasked, a militia spokesperson. Caleb Wright's a danger, Kern said, his voice smooth, venomous. We warned you. The stream cut, but the message landed. Kern wasn't hiding anymore. He'd turned Caleb's heroism into a lie, the rally into a trap. Caleb's scholarship, his voice, his safety, gone in a flash. The park's flames still burned in his mind, a symbol of Kern's reach. He'd dodged death, but the cost was everything. How much more could Kern take before Caleb had nothing left? Caleb Wright crouched in a dimly lit basement, the air thick with mildew, and the buzz of a single bulb swinging overhead. Atlanta's skyline was a distant memory, replaced by this safe house, a cramped hideout run by an activist network called the Lantern Collective. The rally bombing had turned him into a pariah, Kern's militia framing him as a terrorist with doctored footage. Senator Evans's scholarship, his moment of triumph, was gone, snatched by lies. His neon-green wristband, Tasha's gift, was frayed now, a lifeline to a past where he ran track not from death. At 17, Caleb had exposed a corrupt cop, rallied thousands, saved lives, only to be hunted by the Wolfpack, their $10,000 bounty plastered across X. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, had smuggled him here, the FBI detail compromised, their Willow Crest home a shattered dream. Caleb's phone, now a burner, vibrated with a text from Aisha. Stay low, we're fighting this. But Caleb wasn't hiding. He was plotting. The Lantern Collective, a mix of black activists, coders, and ex-cops, trained him in the basement, their voices sharp with purpose. A woman named Zora, a former hacker with dreads and a scar across her cheek, drilled him on evasion tactics, ditch trackers, blend in, trust no one. Kern's militia is national, she warned, her laptop glowing with Wolfpack chatter. They've got eyes everywhere. Caleb absorbed it, his track-honed reflexes sharpening for a new race, survival. He studied Kern's livestream, the one where he'd smirked as militia spokesperson, claiming Caleb was a danger. That voice, smooth and venomous, fueled Caleb's plan. He'd hit Kern harder, expose him not just as a cop, but a terrorist. Zora handed him a recorder, small enough to hide in his palm. Get him talking, she said. One confession and we bury him. Caleb nodded, his jaw tight, the bruise from his arrest a faint ache. He was done being prey. Days blurred into nights. Caleb training with the collective, lockpicking, signal jamming, even basic hand-to-hand. He sparred with Malik, a wiry ex-Marine learning to dodge punches, his track speed a weapon. Between sessions he scoured X, the bombing lies still trending, his face a villain's mask. Tasha and Jamal texted support, but their voices felt far, like echoes from a life Kern had stolen. Caleb's burner buzzed with a tip from Truthseeker 404, the blogger who'd leaked his police hack. Kern's meeting recruits in Marietta, old factory tomorrow night. Go. Caleb shared it with Zora, who mapped the spot 20 miles north. It's a risk, she said, but a shot at proof. Marcus, visiting undercover, hesitated, his FBI badge useless against militia clout. If you're caught, I can't save you. Caleb met his eyes. I'm not running anymore, Dad. Marcus nodded, pride and fear mixing. Then be faster than them. The Marietta factory loomed under a moonless sky, its rusted silos clawing at the stars. Caleb slipped in, a black hoodie masking his face, the recorder taped to his chest. Zora's drone, a silent speck, fed grainy footage to her van nearby. The wolf pack gathered inside, 30 men, their wolf patches glowing under lanterns. Kern stood on a crate, his voice booming. Right's a symbol of chaos. We end him. We end their fight. Caleb's pulse spiked, but he crept closer, hiding behind a stack of tires, the recorder humming. A recruit asked, "The rally bomb? Your call?" Kern laughed, cold. "Planted it myself. Kid's lucky he's breathing." Caleb's blood roared, the confession gold. He edged back, but a guard's flashlight swept the room, pinning him. "Intruder!" Caleb bolted, tires toppling, gunfire cracking. He dove through a shattered window, glass cutting his arm, and sprinted into the woods. Zora's drone buzzing overhead. The militia's shouts faded, his track legs outpacing their rage. Back at the safe house, Caleb uploaded the recording to Truthseeker 404, his hands shaking. By dawn, the post dropped. Kern admits rally bombing. The audio, clear as day, played Kern's voice. The X-post hitting 1 million views in hours. CNN ran it, Aisha on air, calling for Kern's arrest. The FBI raided the Wolfpack's Marietta base, seizing rifles, bombs, plans targeting black activists. Kern vanished, but his militia took a hit, recruits scattering. X flipped, Caleb's name trending as Hanschau hero right, supporters chanting, "He did it." Donations poured in, $50,000 for his family's recovery. Tasha texted, "You're insane." Colleges emailed again, offering visits. Caleb exhaled, the basement's gloom lifting. He'd struck back, cleared his name, saved lives again. Marcus hugged him, whispering, "That's my boy." Caleb planned to resurface, maybe run track openly, his fight finally winning. But victory was a trap. As Caleb slept, his burner buzzed, a hacked signal breaking through. Zora shook him awake, her laptop flashing a Wolfpack Rising post. Caleb's safe house coordinates, leaked by a mole in the collective. Before they could move, a drone screamed overhead, its payload detonating. The basement exploded, flames swallowing the safe house, debris raining. Caleb dove under a table, Zora pulling him through a crawl space, their coughs lost in the roar. They emerged in an alley, singed but alive, the safe house a crater. Caleb's recorder, his spikes, his wristband, gone. X lit up with a new wolf. Pack post. Caleb Wright, $100,000 dead or alive. Kern's voice narrated a live stream, his face hidden. "No more games, kid." The comments were a war cry, militia nationwide vowing blood. Caleb's expose had wounded Kern, but the beast struck back, deadlier than ever. He'd fought underground, but now he was exposed, hunted by an army. Comment number 1 if you're cheering Caleb's gutsy move against Kern, and hit that like button to stand with his fight. Subscribe for the next chapter because this war's exploding. If you think Caleb's expose was worth the risk, let me know below. What's Kern's next strike now that Caleb's on the run again? Caleb Wright coughed ash from his lungs, the safe house's ruins smoldering behind him in the Atlanta dawn. The drone strike, triggered by Kern's militia hack, had obliterated the Lantern Collective's hideout, leaving him and Zora battered but alive. His neon green wristband, Tasha's gift, was ash now, like his hopes of running track again. At 17, Caleb had exposed Kern's bombing, cleared his name, only to face a $100,000 bounty, the Wolfpack's war cry echoing on X. Zora, her dread singed, pulled him through an alley, her voice urgent. "We move now, they're coming." Caleb's legs, trained for sprints, burned as they fled, the city's pulse a distant hum. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, met them at a rundown motel, his SUV hidden in shadows. "You're under federal protection," he said, his eyes hollow. "But Kern's got reach." Caleb nodded, the weight of survival crushing him. He wasn't just a target, he was a spark in a national powder keg. Marcus's pull got Caleb into a secure FBI safe house, a concrete bunker outside Macon, 90. Miles south, armed agents patrolled, their radios crackling. But Caleb felt like a prisoner, not a guest. His burner phone was gone, smashed in the blast, cutting him off from Tasha, Jamal, Aisha. Marcus briefed him, his voice low. "We caught Kern's lieutenant. A guy named Vance. He's talking, names, plans, funding, the Wolfpack's crumbling." Caleb's heart lifted slightly. Vance's arrest was a crack in Kern's armor. Marcus had more, a congressional hearing in Washington set for next week. "They want you to testify," he said. "You're recording the bombing. It's got lawmakers riled. This could end Kern." Caleb hesitated, the militia's bounty flashing in his mind. But he saw his dad's eyes fierce with hope and nodded. "I'm in." He'd faced Kern's guns, his lies. A hearing was just another track, and he'd run it. The Macon bunker became Caleb's training ground, not for sprints, but survival. FBI agents drilled him on testimony. Stay calm, stick to facts, don't flinch. Zora, now under protection too, coached him on dodging traps. "Kern's got friends in high places," she warned, her scar glinting under fluorescent lights. "They'll twist your words." Caleb memorized his story. The traffic stop, the firebombing, the rally blast, Kern's confession. He pictured the senators, their pens poised, and felt a flicker of his old track fire. This was his race, his chance to bury Kern. Marcus arranged a sting, feeding fake intel to the Wolfpack, luring Vance's crew into an FBI trap. The raid, aired on CNN, netted 10 militia members, their wolf patches flashing in cuffs. X cheered. Hero right trending again. Caleb exhaled, the bunker's walls less suffocating. Kern was losing and he was rising. Washington was a whirlwind, the Capitol's marble halls cold against Caleb's sneakers. The hearing, broadcast live, packed. The room with senators, reporters, and protesters outside, chanting his name. Caleb, in a borrowed suit, sat at a long table, Marcus and Aisha flanking him. Senator Clara Evans, back after her scholarship flip-flop, led the panel, her voice sharp. "Mr. Wright, tell us about Dale Kern." Caleb leaned into the mic, his voice steady despite his pounding heart. "He stopped me for being black, framed me, bombed a rally, and hunts me now. He's a terrorist, not a cop." He played the recording, Kern's voice chilling the room. "Planted it myself." Gasps rippled, cameras flashing. Evans pushed, and Caleb laid out everything. Doxing, firebombing, the drone strike. The senators scribbled, some nodding, others stone-faced. By the end, Evans banged her gavel. "This demands action." Reform bills were drafted, targeting police bias and militia funding. Caleb left the stand, Aisha whispering, "You nailed it." X exploded, his testimony viral, supporters chanting, "Caleb's our voice." He thought he'd won, the finish line crossed. But Kern struck from the shadows. That night, a rogue network, Patriot Pulse, aired deepfake videos across X and Fringe. Sites. They showed Caleb, his face eerily real, confessing to crimes. "I bombed the rally, I framed Kern." The fakes were slick, voice-matched, spreading like wildfire. X turned, comments venomous. "Liar! Traitor!" Protests outside. The Capitol flipped, crowds now chanting, "Lock right up!" Caleb watched from the Macon bunker, his stomach churning, the testimony's glow snuffed out. Aisha raged, filing injunctions, but Patriot Pulse was a ghost, servers overseas. Senator Evans went silent, her reform bills stalled. The FBI detail, meant to protect Caleb, grew tense, agents whispering. That night, two broke protocol, their radios off, and drove him to a rural airstrip, faces blank. "Get in," one barked, shoving him toward a black van. Caleb's instincts screamed, betrayal. He spotted a militia tattoo on the driver's wrist, a wolf's head. Kern had bought them, Caleb acted, his track speed a weapon. He elbowed the first agent, ribs cracking, and kneed the second, windpipe gasping. He sprinted into the woods, branches slashing his face, the van's headlights chasing. Gunshots rang, bullets clipping trees, but Caleb wove, his legs a blur. He hid in a creek, mud masking his heat until the van peeled away. Soaked, bleeding, he stumbled to a payphone, calling Marcus. His dad's voice shook. Kern's desperate. He's turned this national. Caleb's testimony meant to end. The fight had ignited a witch hunt. The deepfakes weren't just lies, they were a call to arms, militia nationwide hunting black activists, ex-posts vowing justice. Caleb's safe house, his congressional win, was a trap sprung by Kern's betrayal. He'd run faster than ever, but the race was deadlier now. Caleb Wright shivered in the Georgia woods, mud caking his sneakers, the payphone's dial tone still ringing in his ears after calling Marcus. His escape from the traitorous FBI agents, their wolf tattoos betraying Kern's grip, had left him battered, branches slicing his arms. The deepfake videos, painting him as a criminal mastermind, had turned his congressional testimony into a national manhunt, X ablaze with calls to stop Wright. At 17, Caleb had outrun gunfire, exposed a terrorist, but Kern's militia was a hydra, growing deadlier with each blow. The Macon night, thick with 80-degree humidity, offered no comfort, only the promise of pursuit. His neon-green wristband was gone, burned in the safe house, but his track-honed instincts kept him moving. He had to find Marcus, end this, or Kern would bury them both. Caleb trekked to a truck stop, dawn breaking, and hitched a ride with a grizzled driver who didn't ask questions. Back in Atlanta, he met Zora at a Lantern Collective dead drop. A diner's back booth, her scar glinting under neon. "Your dad's safe underground," she whispered, sliding him a burner phone. "But Kern's militia hit X with more fakes, saying you're arming gangs." Caleb's stomach twisted. The deepfakes weren't just lies. They were war cries, stoking riots nationwide. Black activists targeted in Dallas, Chicago, Miami. Zora's laptop showed a Wolfpack Rising post. "Wright's the spark. Extinguish him." She leaned in. "We've got a hack ready. Crash their servers, expose the fakes. You in?" Caleb nodded, his jaw tight. He'd testified, run, fought. Now he'd strike. The Collective's new hideout, a warehouse in East Atlanta, hummed with coders and ex-cops, their screens glowing. Zora led the hack, her fingers dancing, cracking Wolfpack servers. Caleb watched, feeding her coffee, his heart racing as files spilled. Deepfake blueprints, Kern's orders, militia donor lists tied to Patriot Pulse. They leaked it to Truthseeker 404, the post dropping at midnight. Wolfpack's lies unraveled. X flipped, 1 million shares. CNN airing the donor list, linking senators to the militia. Protests turned, crowds chanting Caleb's truth. The FBI arrested 3 donors, and a federal task force zeroed in on Kern's network. Caleb's burner buzzed with Tasha's text. "You're a legend," Aisha called, voice bright. "The fakes are dead, Caleb, you're clear." He grinned, the warehouse's gloom lifting. He'd hit Kern where it hurt, and the beast was bleeding. The task force moved fast, raiding a Wolfpack compound in Savannah, seizing drones and bombs. Kern's top aide, Vance, cut a deal, naming hideouts. Caleb, back under FBI protection, led a sting, posing as a defector to lure Kern to an Atlanta warehouse. Zora wired him with a mic, Marcus watching via drone. Caleb stood in the empty lot, heart pounding, as Kern's truck rolled up, his smirk visible through tinted glass. "Thought you'd flip, kid?" Kern sneered, stepping out, 5 goons at his back. Caleb played along, stalling, until FBI choppers roared in, floodlights blazing. Kern's men scattered, but agents swarmed, cuffing him. Kern spat. "This ain't over," as they dragged him away. X lit up. Kern caught trending, supporters flooding Caleb's mentions. "You did it!" Aisha filed motions to restore his scholarship, and the White House invited him to a reform summit. Caleb exhaled, Marcus hugging him tight. "We won, son." The war felt over, the finish line crossed, but victory was a lie. The summit, set in a DC ballroom, was packed. Senators, activists, cameras rolling. Caleb, in a new suit, shook hands, his testimony now a beacon. As he stepped to the podium, a rumble shook the hall, then a blast. Windows shattered, chandeliers crashed, screams erupting. A bomb, hidden in the HVAC, killed 20, injured 50, the ballroom a war zone. Caleb dove under a table, glass cutting his cheek, his ears ringing. Marcus pulled him out, blood on his shirt, as Secret Service swarmed. X broke the news. White House summit bombed, militia suspected. Wolfpack Rising claimed it, a post reading, "For Kern." Caleb's heart sank. His sting, his win, had provoked this. Back in Atlanta, under tripled FBI guard, he got a call from Zora, voice shaking. "Kern's free," bribed a guard, vanished. Then a text from an unknown number, a photo of Marcus, bound in a dark room. Kern's message followed, "Surrender, or he dies." Caleb's world collapsed. The summit's cheers, the stings, triumph, were ashes. Kern hadn't just escaped. He'd struck, killing dozens, taking Marcus. Caleb met Zora at a new hideout, her laptop tracking militia chatter. "Kern's in a compound, rural Georgia," she said, pinpointing a forested site 200 miles west. Caleb's mind raced. Marcus, the man who'd taught him to fight smart, was bait. The FBI was scrambled, agents compromised, but Caleb wouldn't wait. He studied Zora's maps, memorizing the compound's layout. Bunkers, traps, 50 armed. "For men." "I'm going," he said, voice steel. Zora nodded, handing him a knife, her eyes fierce. "Bring him back." Caleb set out, the burner phone his only link, the forest a gauntlet of racist killers. His sting had cuffed Kern, but the beast roared back, deadlier than ever. Marcus's life hung on Caleb's speed, and the war was all out now. Caleb Wright crouched in the Georgia forest, the rural militia compound looming through the pines, its barbed wire fences glinting under a moonless sky. The air, heavy with 80-degree heat, carried the stench of gun oil and sweat. Kern's text, a photo of Marcus bound, bloodied, burned in Caleb's mind, the words "surrender or he dies" a taunt. The White House summit bombing, killing 20, had shattered Caleb's sting operation. Kern's escape from custody a gut punch. At 17, Caleb had outrun bullets, exposed a terrorist, but now his dad, his rock, was hostage. The burner, phone in his pocket, Zora's knife in his hand, were his only tools. The FBI was hours behind, compromised by Kern's reach. Caleb's track legs, honed for speed, steeled for this, a final stand to save Marcus or die trying. He studied the compound from a ridge, Zora's map etched in his memory. 50 armed men, tripwires, 2 bunkers, Kern's command post at the U center. His neon-green wristband was gone, lost in the safe house blast, but its ghost drove him. He moved, silent as a sprinter before the gun, slipping past a patrol, their wolf patches glowing. A tripwire glinted, and he vaulted it, heart pounding, the forest his track. A guard tower loomed, its sniper scanning. Caleb tossed a rock, the clatter drawing the rifle away, and darted to a drainage pipe, crawling through muck, the stench. Gagging him, he emerged inside the compound, shadows his ally, Zora's knife cold against his palm. The command post, a concrete shed, pulsed with radio chatter. Marcus was there. Caleb felt it. A guard, burly with a wolf tattoo, blocked the path his rifle slung. Caleb waited, breath shallow, until the man lit a cigarette, eyes drifting. He lunged, knife to the guard's throat, whispering, "Quiet or you're done." The guard froze, and Caleb zip-tied him to a post, gagging him with a rag. He crept. To the shed, its door cracked, voices leaking. Kern's drawl cut through, "The kid's coming, let him, we end this." Caleb's blood boiled, but he held, peering inside. Marcus sat tied to a chair, face swollen, one eye shut. 2 goons flanked him, Kern pacing, a pistol in hand. Caleb's mind raced. 5 seconds to act, or Marcus was dead. He spotted a gas can by the door, a plan forming. He doused a crate, struck a stolen lighter, and tossed it, flames erupting. The goons shouted, rushing out, and Caleb slipped in, knife flashing, cutting Marcus's ropes. "Son," Marcus rasped, voice weak, "you shouldn't be here." Caleb pulled him up, his dad's weight heavy. "No choice, Dad." Gunfire cracked outside, the fire spreading, chaos masking their move. Kern spun, spotting them, his smirk gone. "Right!" he roared, raising his pistol. Caleb shoved Marcus behind a desk, bullets pinging steel. He grabbed a chair, hurling it, catching Kern's arm. The gun skidded, and Caleb tackled him, track. Speed meeting rage. Kern was stronger, his fist cracking Caleb's ribs, but Caleb kneed his gut, air hissing out. Marcus, staggering, grabbed the pistol, aiming shaky. "Stop, Kern!" Kern laughed, blood on his teeth. "You're nothing, kid." Sirens wailed, distant but closing. FBI, tipped by Zora's drone feed. Caleb pinned Kern, zip-tying his wrists, his breath ragged. Game over. SWAT stormed in, black-clad agents flooding the shed, rifles up. Kern was cuffed, dragged out, his curses drowned by chopper blades. Marcus slumped, blood pooling, a stray bullet from Kern's gun lodged in his side. Medics rushed him, Caleb, holding his hand, voice breaking. "Stay with me, Dad." The compound burned, militia scattering, 50 arrests in minutes. X lit up. Now Kern caught trending again. Truth Seeker 404 posting drone clips of Caleb's raid. Aisha called, voice shaking. "You saved him, Caleb." The FBI sealed the site, Wolfpack's remnants collapsing. Caleb rode with Marcus to a hospital, the medics' monitors beeping. His dad stable but critical. By dawn, Marcus was in surgery, doctors hopeful. Caleb sat in the waiting room, his ribs aching, Kern's defeat sinking in. The militia was broken, his dad alive. Aisha filed for his scholarships return and colleges emailed, awed by his courage. He exhaled, thinking it was over, but as Marcus recovered, a nurse handed Caleb a letter, slipped under the hospital door. Inside, a USB drive and a note. "Watch it right." He plugged it into Aisha's laptop, his pulse spiking. A video. Played, Kern in a cell, then free, a guard unlocking his door, a bribe clear. He stood in a new compound, bigger, men saluting. "The Wolfpack rises," he said, eyes locked on the camera. "Right, you're first." The video cut, X already buzzing with Wolfpack rising posts, vowing revenge. Caleb's victory, his daring rescue, was a spark, not an end. Kern's army was rebuilding and the war wasn't done. Caleb gripped Zora's knife, his track fire reigniting. He'd saved Marcus, broken the pack, but Kern was a ghost, and ghosts don't die easy. Caleb Wright stood on the stage of Westview High's auditorium, the Atlanta sun streaming through tall windows, casting gold across the packed seats. At 18, he was graduating, his cap slightly crooked, his gown fluttering as he gripped the podium. The crowd, classmates, teachers, Tasha, Jamal, Aisha, cheered, their applause a wave. Marcus, his FBI agent dad, sat in the front row, a cane at his side, his recovery from the militia's bullet a miracle. Caleb's journey, traffic stop, firebombing, rally blast, Kern's manhunt, had made him a national figure, his name synonymous with defiance. The USB video showing Kern's prison escape had shaken him, but today he was king. His scholarship, restored by Senator Evans, funded a track career at Georgia Tech, and Marcus's promotion to FBI director sealed their triumph. Yet, as Caleb scanned the crowd, the burner phone in his pocket buzzed, a ghost from the fight he thought he'd won. He cleared his throat, his voice steady, honed by rallies and hearings. 2 years ago, I was a kid who loved to run. A cop named Dale Kern saw my skin and decided I was a threat. He burned my home, bombed my city, hunted my family. But we fought, me, my dad, my friends, and we're still here. The crowd roared, Tasha's fist raised, Jamal whistling. Caleb's eyes flicked to Marcus, whose nod was pride itself. This diploma isn't just mine, Caleb continued. It's for every black kid told they can't win. Keep running. Applause thundered, cameras flashing, X-live streams hitting millions. Hashtags like Just Caleb graduates trended, supporters posting clips of his speech, calling him a hero. Aisha. His lawyer beamed, her legal battles, suing Wolf News, restoring his name, vindicated. The principal handed Caleb his diploma, a crisp scroll, and he held it high, the weight of his fight in every fiber. Off stage, Marcus hugged him, his cane clattering, his voice thick. You're unstoppable, son. Caleb grinned, the hospital's beeping monitors a fading memory. Marcus's wound, from Kern's bullet in the compound, had nearly taken him, but months of rehab brought him back. His new role, FBI director, gave him clout to hunt the Wolfpack's remnants. Caleb's scholarship wasn't just money. It was a promise, a track season ahead. Scouts already buzzing about his 10.1-second sprint. Tasha and Jamal mobbed him. Tasha slipping a new wristband onto his wrist, red this time, her eyes sparkling. "For luck," she said. Jamal punched his arm. "NCAA's waiting, man." Caleb laughed, the auditorium's warmth a shield against the past. The firebombed garage, the militia's noose, Kern's deepfakes, they were scars, but he'd outrun them. The ceremony ended, families spilling onto the lawn, the Atlanta air 85 degrees, alive with celebration. Caleb posed for photos, his gown billowing, feeling like he'd crossed a finish line that mattered. But as he smiled for a reporter's camera, his burner buzzed again, a text from an unknown number. He slipped away, heart ticking, and opened it. A grainy photo of Kern, free, in a desert compound bigger than the last, men in wolf patches saluting. A note read, "You'll never run fast enough." Caleb's breath caught, the festive chatter fading. The USB video, delivered in the hospital, had shown Kern's escape, a bribed guard his key. Ex-posts from Wolfpack Rising, still active, hinted at a new network funded by untouchable donors. Kern wasn't just free, he was building, his militia reborn, deadlier. Caleb's graduation, his scholarship, Marcus's rise, they were victories. But Kern was a ghost who haunted every step. The crowd's cheers felt hollow now, the wristband tight. He'd saved Marcus, broken the pack, but the war lingered, a shadow on his joy. Caleb deleted the text, his fingers steady, a decision crystallizing. He rejoined the crowd, smiling for Tasha's selfie, his eyes scanning for threats. Marcus caught his glance, a question in his gaze, but Caleb shook his head, masking the storm. That night at their rebuilt Atlanta home, now a fortress of steel and cameras, Caleb sat with Marcus, the TV muted, a news ticker mentioning militia raids. "Dad," he said, voice low, "I'm not done." Marcus frowned, his cane tapping. "You've done enough, son. Let the FBI handle Kern." Caleb leaned in, eyes fierce. "They can't. He's mine." Marcus studied him, then sighed, pride and fear mixing. "What's your play?" Caleb's lips curled, a sprinter's focus. "I'm joining the FBI, training, undercover, whatever it takes. I'll hunt him myself." Marcus paused, then nodded, his director's badge glinting. "You'll need more than speed." Caleb's mind raced, picturing Kern's desert compound, the wolf patches, the next strike. He'd enroll at Georgia. Tech, run track. But nights would be for training, codes, weapons, infiltration. The Lantern Collective, Zora's crew, would link him to sources, off-grid. Aisha could pull legal strings, keep his moves quiet. Caleb wasn't the prey anymore, he was the predator flipping the race. Kern thought he'd broken him, but every slur, every bomb had forged a blade. The graduation stage was his cover, the scholarship his mask. X would see a hero, but underground he'd be a hunter. Caleb stepped outside, the Atlanta stars sharp, his new wristband a quiet vow. He whispered to Marcus, still at the table, "I'm ending this." Marcus's eyes held a storm, but he nodded, trusting. Caleb's phone, now clean, held no trace of the text, but Kern's face was etched in his skull. The Wolfpack's rise, their desert fortress, was a challenge he'd meet head-on. He'd run 10.1 seconds, saved thousands, freed his Ted. Now he'd chase a ghost, not for fame, but for peace. The crowd's cheers, the diploma's weight faded behind a new finish line, one Kern wouldn't see coming. Caleb Wright's journey in a 17-year-old stand is a raw testament to resilience against systemic racism. A black teen targeted by a racist cop, Caleb faced relentless trials, doxing, firebombing, a malicious bounty, yet never broke. His story teaches us that courage isn't the absence of fear, but action despite it. Caleb's quick thinking, from spotting a rally bomb to infiltrating a compound, shows how intelligence and grit can defy oppression. He didn't just survive. He exposed Kern's corruption, sparking national reform. This reminds us that one voice, even a 17-year-old's, can shake a system when it's loud enough. The story also reveals the cost of fighting injustice. Caleb lost his home, his track dreams teetered, and his dad nearly died. Yet, his choice to join the FBI, flipping from prey to hunter, underscores a deeper lesson. Resistance evolves. We learn that systemic racism, embodied by Kern's unyielding militia, doesn't vanish with one win. It demands relentless pursuit. Caleb's bond with Marcus, Tasha, and the Lantern Collective highlights community as a lifeline, teaching us that no one fights alone. Finally, his graduation speech, claiming victory while planning a secret hunt, shows hope and strategy must coexist. What can we take forward? Stand firm, think sharp, build allies, and never assume the fight's over. Caleb's story isn't just his, it's a call to challenge every racist barrier, no matter the odds. Comment number 1, if you're inspired by Caleb's courage, and hit like to honor his fight. Subscribe and share to spread his truth. If you've faced injustice, what's your story? Let us know below. Thank you for joining this journey. Here's to building a just world together.